In a world of 350 billion movie podcasts, two chumps have decided that now is the time for cult movies to engage in combat. Disagreements will be had, blood may be spilled, and voiceover artists most definitely will not be paid. This is Cult Film Face-Off.
Hello, and welcome to Cult Film Face-Off. With me, as always, is Chet Roivas.
Hello.
My name is Nick Leonard. In this week's episode, long before Peter Jackson was frolicking around with hobbits in the Shire, he was shooting seminal low-budget gore films. Today, we pit one against the other. Two films that created their own subgenre of splatstick. Braindead versus Bad Taste.
Yep.
Derek and the team from New Zealand's Astro Investigation Defence Service are called in to check out suspicious activity that has led to the disappearance of the population of a small town, which inhabitants have been replaced by aliens with an unquenchable appetite for human flesh. Bad Taste.
At last! Shit! The story that made Meryl Streep throw up is now the movie that Steven Spielberg wouldn't dare to do. Bastard! Monty Python meets the Evil Dead in Bad Taste! It's a gourmet's delight with 2,300 bone-chipping, blood-dripping shots. Count 'em if you have the guts. Thrill to adventure beyond belief.
I just hope we're in time to save the world.
Be amazed by incredible exploding sheep. Sickened by bizarre alien rituals.
That's gross.
From New Zealand, the land that taste forgot, comes the masterpiece juicier than an all-black jockstrap.
The old magic's still there.
It's the most awful movie of the year. With more chainsaws than a lumberjack can.
The place is like a bloody abattoir.
It's Bad Taste, rated.
I'm born again.
If you have half a brain, grab the video now.
Okay, right, so talk to me about Bad Taste. You have a much richer history with Bad Taste than I do, I'll tell you that right now.
Right, Bad Taste is a really important film in my life. I first saw this film when I was about 13 years of age, and I was at school, and a mutual friend of ours, Neil, who started at our school, and I thought he was a German exchange student. It turned out he was from Tunbridge Wells, and he rocked up and he pulled out a VHS big box copy of Bad Taste. And this film, I remember when I was probably about 10 years of age, and I would cycle down to George Dawes' video shop in Shirley, way before Shooting Stars. I would cycle down to George Dawes' video shop in Shirley, and I remember seeing the massive quad poster of Bad Taste with an alien sticking up his middle finger, thinking, I need to see this film. I never got to see it when I was a kid. And Neil had a copy of this, so we actually went into the science labs at lunchtime and stuck on Bad Taste. And I mean, we were just in absolute fits. I mean, I'd never seen anything like this. Never seen anything so gory, so explicit, and really funny. There's such an amazing sense of humour with it as well. So yeah, I've got very fond memories about it. What's your relationship with the film?
Well, I saw it at a very young age, and I think it was probably around the same sort of time that I saw Drillakiller and that I saw Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. I was way too young to be watching those films, and I think at that age, if it wasn't aesthetically pleasing, I couldn't stomach it. So I saw bits and pieces of Bad Taste, and I didn't really. It left no. The only opinion I had was that I don't really want to watch it. So I was watching it with basically fresh eyes, although I did see things. I was
so
like,
you didn't get any of the humour of it when you were watching when you were...
No, I at that age, I thought if it was cheaply made, I just wasn't interested. So watching it, as I did the other night, was basically my first time, although I did recognise things.
Right, I'm really interested about this, because I watched it religiously from the age of about 30. I mean, I've watched it low. I mean, I watched it so much is I actually shot a short film called Sad Taste, which will never see the light of day.
Does it still exist?
Yeah, I've still.
Really?
It's buried away.
Oh, I need to see that. Yeah, I want to see that film, because I'll bet you any money it's better than Bad Taste.
You are kidding me.
I thought it was garbage.
You are kidding me.
I thought it was absolute rubbish. Braindead is a film that you can tell whoever made it went on to do great things. Bad Taste had no redeeming features whatsoever. The one moment that I laughed at was when the zombies picked up one of their own and started using him as a battering ram. That's about, this film was spoken of as being inventive. I didn't think it was particularly inventive. It looked like the films that you and I used to make when we were teenagers. Really, really disjointed, didn't make any sense, puerile.
But it's made with so much love.
Is it?
I mean, it's full of great. It's full of great gags.
No.
So you're okay. So you're telling me that there's a sequence where there's a zombie that's lost his bottom half, and he throws an acorn at Derek. It pops off. All he's got left is that he picks up an acorn and throws it at Derek's head when he's trying to charge up the chainsaw.
No. Honestly didn't. I was watching this at stony face, and I just thought, I don't know how desperate we were in the late 80s for gore that this got some traction, because do you know what it reminded me of? Have you ever seen the film Colin?
No.
Came out in the late 90s, I think. It was a zombie film, and the big...
I know of it, I've never seen it.
All the press was just like, apparently they made this for £50. And it was every inch of film that was made for £50. I was like, I can't enjoy this. This
is make no bones about it, right? This was a labour of love. Peter Jackson shot this over 4 years with his mates.
Yeah.
This is an absolute labour of love. Peter Jackson did... everything. He did all the special. He did all the special effects.
Completely.
He had unprofessional actors in there, and for me, everything. It has there's abundance of charm. This film, and watching it as an adult was even more. As a kid, I was just reveling in the gore. That's why I was watching it. I've never seen so much explicit gore. The humour in it. There was so many good sight gags. I mean, you weren't laughing at when the guy gets hooked up on his jacket. He's got the pitchfork and he can't actually go. He can't go to zombies. Or they're picking up weapons. And one picks up a really small hammer. I mean, it's almost kind of like innocent kind of Laurel and Hardy sight gags, but done with a guy that has got an absolute vision of what he wants to make. And I finished that film just going like, I couldn't, I've got so much respect that Peter Jackson. This is an absolute labour of love.
I totally see that, but I'd much rather read a paragraph in his life story about Bad Taste rather than sit for 90 minutes and watch it. I was just like I said, it's like the films we used to make. We enjoyed them very much, but I would never expect anyone to be entertained by it. And I can't believe this got any traction. I can't believe it got distributed. I can't believe it didn't get anywhere outside the confines of New Zealand.
I'm so glad it got distributed. I'm so glad it got to a wider audience. Because I mean, I loved it. I loved this film as a kid, and I loved this film as an adult. It was shot in $26,000 using your friends, right? I've got a huge soft spot for it, because after seeing that, then I went and I seeked out Evil Dead, Reanimator, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This started me off on whole body horror.
Fair enough, but those films are not fit to be mentioned in the same sentence as Bad Taste. I've got a lot of time. I mean, I'm not a Peter Jackson fan, but you cannot deny the man has talent. I could not figure out. There was no evidence of the man's talent in this film. I really felt like I was watching someone's home movie. I suppose, at least it's really ambitious. I mean, a film of this scale, it wants to be an epic. It could and should, arguably, have been about anything other than like a zombie apocalypse. So you have to give them kudos for trying to do something so bold.
And some great dialogue in there.
What's that? I mean...
Suck my spinning steel, shithead.
The only
maybe I'm just sitting here and I'm a complete fanboy of this film. I've really good memories watching it, and I thought, how is this going to stand the test of time? And if anything, it was more endearing because it's got such a big heart.
I can totally agree with that. I mean, I think there's a very good reason that this hasn't had, huge big filmmakers have gone on to release many movies, and then distributors go back and they do a special re-release of like a debut. This hasn't had that, and I think it's for the reason is that it's fucking rubbish.
No, because he put everything there. I mean, there's a really good little documentary which is the making of
Good Taste Made Bad Taste,
which really goes into the detail of what this guy was doing. I mean, what Peter Jackson was doing. He was making all of the heads for the aliens, and the reason why they're all curved is that they're curved because he was having to use his mum's oven, and that's why he didn't even mean to curve the heads, and that's why they've got this look. It's like it's such a huge amount. I mean, every single thing was
It's
done.
an amazing feat, and you have to give the guy kudos. But it ain't entertainment. I just really thought it was one of the least I mean, I was sitting there just like I said, stony face. The fucking soundtrack. The fucking electric. I mean, it's just it was like somebody put.
No, I love that sound.
Come on. That's
no,
like,
I do. I've even put great 80s soundtrack.
No, there's no. That's like somebody throwing a load of electronic.
But I love the fact it is so amateurish, but it's got polish to it because he knows how to shoot and he knows how to cut. You know, the way that it's cut and the way that it's put together. You know, it's amateurish in its look, but the actual when you get down to the arts and crafts, this is somebody that was destined for bigger things. The special effects, he's got zero budget.
Okay, well,
and how does he manage? I mean, okay. Let me just say this, right? How that special effect at the end of the appearance of making that house go into space. I mean, how have they done that?
Yeah, I don't know.
With a $26,000 budget.
Of course.
By the end of the film.
Also, the first kill in the film, a guy gets shot in the head. I was looking at that just thinking, I don't know how they did that. Did they hollow out a mannequin and put loads of... I mean, because it was an incredibly impressive special effect. There was no plot. There was so much superfluous footage. I mean, this was a 20-minute short that lasted an hour and a half. There were long takes that didn't need to be that long. Honestly, I thought at least I'm halfway through, and I looked and I was 20 minutes in, and I was like, this film just doesn't end. Nothing happens in it, and then it has no plot. Things randomly happen. Honestly, it's like a film that we made, and I would never want to inflict that on anyone. Fair play. I mean, technically, you can see how Peter Jackson progressed, but I really didn't find anything about it entertaining, bar a couple of laughs. I liked the very badly dubbed dialogue, and I was going, you know, I thought that was funny.
There's more inventive kills in this film than literally 5 or 6 years of a decade of cinema. I mean, literally, there is so many inventive kills of how those guys are dispatched and using camera techniques of being the zombie or being the murder weapon. It reminds me of vintage like Raimi.
Can you remind me? Because I really can't remember any inventive. I mean, I thought it was like, oh, that's quite nice. Where Peter Jackson, who plays the hero, he has that flap in the back of his head that comes out. And
I still find that really, really difficult to watch that flap and him putting some brains back in his head and tightening it up.
Yeah,
there were great moments where like a body part would fall into, you know, and then. Oh God! It's in the house and they're storming the house. There are some brilliant kills in there.
None of the kills. I can't even think of an inventive kill. This is really interesting in comparison to Braindead because I think Braindead is absolutely fucking fantastic. So put next to this, I was like, it's night and day. You can't even compare them.
This is him. This is him starting out, and Braindead is given. He's given all of the. He's given all of the toys.
But there's a plot in that film.
There's access. He's had zero budget. What he managed to achieve with a pittance of a budget is phenomenal. And he was allowed to build on that and be given a budget and be given. You know, I mean, this is. You know, this is. I certainly wouldn't say this is Godfather 1, Godfather 2 territory at all. But you know, this is gonzo filmmaking at its absolute kind of. You know, I really want to think about the fucking. I've not written anything down about the kills.
My notes, in comparison to the notes I've made about every other film we've ever spoken about, are completely meagre. The music was absolutely, stabby synthesizer crap. It sounds like it was made up on the spot. Horrible. At least it was ambitious, but I don't really have anything to say about this film. I wonder if the video cover was the reason why. I mean, I don't understand how this got distributed. It was clearly a different time.
It was picked up by the New Zealand Film Commission. This is what I find amazing. I absolutely love the fact that this was elevated to an international. It was. We got to see this.
I felt when I saw that film I mentioned earlier, Colin, the £50 vampire film, which is just basically unwatchable. I was like, I kind of like the fact that they made that film and now it's distributed. So I suppose I can understand that, but I just didn't think it was entertaining. It should have been a 20-minute show reel for what that guy can do.
I disagree. I think it's perfect in length. It doesn't outstay its welcome.
It does. That's what it really does. Because everything. I mean, I was just like, why is this shot lasting fucking 30 seconds? Why is this going on for so long? Why don't they just get? It was just like, and it didn't make any. I mean, you cannot try to tell me that had a narrative that made any kind of sense whatsoever.
But did you not know the fact that these aliens were coming down down to basically they were working for a fast food chain.
restaurant. Yeah, I mean that's
brilliant.
Nice.
It wasn't like some, it wasn't some like deep arching thing. It was a really simple thing that they were basically farming human flesh to go and to distribute it like a fast food chain in another planet.
An absolutely wonderful premise for a short film. But it was an hour and a half long.
But this is Peter Jackson's first film.
I understand.
If you can sit there and think this guy was not destined for much bigger things, then I don't know what. Because basically all of what he's done here, why Braindead works so well, it does what every amazing sequel should do, right? Which is it ramps things up, it takes a concept and it builds on that, and that is the perfect example of what that does. There are so many similarities between these two films: the sense of humour, the slapstick comedy, the whole.
There is a chasm between these two films. There is a chasm between these two films. I think that they're based. I mean, there are similarities, obviously. But have you ever seen M. Night Shyamalan's films that he made when he was a kid?
No.
On some of his DVDs, he puts, I made this film when I was 8 years old. And you're like, whoa, you can totally see, there's promise there. And they're like 7 minutes long.
You can't compare.
They've got special effects in them. You're like, oh, well, fair play, but they're 7 minutes long. And you're like...
But what he does in Braindead is it's cruder, it's gorier, it's more perverse. What works so well in the first picture is taken and run with because he's working with proper actors. He's got budget.
He's got an actual story. He's got everything that he didn't have in. This is, I mean, the fact that it was made over 4 years makes perfect sense because the film doesn't make any sense.
Oh, I think it makes complete sense. It's a really straightforward. It's a really straightforward narrative. It's a linear narrative as it is. It's not convoluted. It's tight. I'm really surprised that it did not endear, especially the fact that we've made some pretty shocking films.
Damn right we have.
And for someone to basically do it on a shoestring with his mates, I can't think of anything that is comparable.
Our films were only about 5 or 6 minutes long.
But they did.
They weren't as good as Braindead, as Bad Taste. I'll give you that.
I think you're looking at a guy who has got an absolute fucking aptitude and a vision for special effects and for gore. And
he's not a storyteller. Yeah, that's the thing. This is not a film to be watched for anything other than look at what those guys did for nothing, no money.
But Braindead and Bad Taste, I think the stories in them. There's not, okay.
Oh no, but there is actually a plot. I mean, okay, we should probably move on to Braindead, should we?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have anything else to say about Bad Taste? Because I have nothing to say about it. I just thought it was a really an impressive feat that I would, like I said, rather have read a paragraph about and watched 5 minutes of footage.
Well, I mean, mate, I am absolutely charmed by Bad Taste, and I was charmed by watching it again, and I was really excited to stick on Braindead after Bad Taste.
Okay, well, I really struggled to see the merit in Bad Taste, just as a film that I remember.
That's so harsh.
I can appreciate some of the effects, but as a film, as a narrative, even as a debut for a director, I just don't think there's any merit in it. And I'll rest my case by saying that this film has basically disappeared.
But so's Braindead.
No. Braindead got a re-release on Blu-ray a few years ago. I think that's still around, and that's still. But
the reason correct me if I'm wrong, but I imagine it's got a re-release because there's probably deleted scenes in there. He put everything into Bad. There was nothing left on the cutting floor with Bad Taste. He did the making of straight after it. There's nothing more to add to that. Whereas Braindead, you can't do an HD release of Bad Taste because it was filmed on such. Look at the picture.
But then you're admitting, as a fan of it when it came out, that it holds no value for.
It's so much of it. It's.
So would a kid watching it today get anything out of it?
A kid watching Bad Taste.
Yeah. Today,
you've got to see where. I think
as a story, as a piece of entertainment, as a narrative, as a story.
I was entertained thoroughly when I watched it when I was 12 years old. I was thoroughly entertained watching it in the wrong side of my 30s. So I absolutely think, someone would sit down and probably have no patience with it because it is really gonzo, it is really, really basic, but I think it is a true feat of a creative vision to do what Peter Jackson did in Bad Taste. with zero money, with no professional actors. I think it's hugely commendable, and I loved it.
I doff my cap, but I'm annoyed that I had to sit through it.
Right. Let me do the introduction of Braindead.
Yeah, go on then.
I wish I could fucking have pulled some of the kills. I mean, I was there going, like, that's fucking brilliant, you know? There was a scene where, like, he thinks he's killing somebody, and then suddenly Derek comes up with a chainsaw, like, it's through the stomach. And there's a zombie that gets killed, and then some body part falls into his. I think blood is dripping into the glass that he was drinking with, or something, or like. And then there's like you're the camera of a weapon that goes into somebody. It's like some great stuff.
It sounds like you're describing Braindead, because I was watching Bad Taste just thinking this isn't even that gory. How desperate were we for like horror?
We were desperate because there was nothing at that.
We were still in the video nasty era. I understand
at that time,
yeah.
There was nothing. It was so. Bad Taste was so of its time.
But that's why I think it's interesting that I don't think that that film doesn't basically exist now. I think you can probably watch it on YouTube.
What do you mean?
I don't think it's in.
What do you mean it doesn't exist? It doesn't exist.
No, but you can't. If you wanted
but
right
the thing
now,
is, you're never going to get a re-release of Bad Taste because it was filmed on. I mean, fucking hell, man! It's not.
Yeah, but Driller Killer just got re-released.
Yeah, but
that was shot on celluloid. But
yeah, but that's got a huge cult following. Bad Taste was never banned. Bad Taste never had a kind. Do you know what I mean? It was never banned. It's just. I mean, it was.
But people like you would buy like a Blu-ray HD.
I wouldn't buy a Blu-ray HD of Bad Taste.
See, even you wouldn't buy.
No, because I want to watch it as it was. I'm not going to get anything more for cleaning up the picture of that film. Fuck. Or can I please get an isolated score? I mean, everything is just so. You know, I'm so charmed by that film. You know, and I mean, I've fuck me, man. I mean, you know, I've just got the so much nostalgia for that film.
I appreciate that completely. Yeah,
you know, I couldn't say what I feel. Me even going off and fucking shooting a film inspired by that film. I was just like,
totally. I can totally.
This is what I wanted to see. I wanted to see an explicit gore film where the camera doesn't shy away when you want to see the blood splatter. You know. And so the humour. I mean, did you not laugh when the fucking chef? I mean, how shoddy was that? He's the chef of the aliens. He's wearing a chef's hat. He's his mate down the pub. He serves Victorian bitter from behind the bar, and they thought, let's cast him. But the fact that he gets really upset. The fact is Peter Jackson humanises those aliens. They actually have a relationship, right? Okay? They're not just mindless zombies, right? They actually have this whole camaraderie going on. They get upset when each other is off. I mean, that is not just a spy film. That is humanising what is happening on screen. And Peter Jackson does that so well with whether it be creatures, aliens. And he does that, which leads on perfectly for what we're going to talk about, because in terms of humanity and bringing humanity to zombies, you know, it's par excellence in
okay, well, okay, right. Let's do the intro for Braindead.
Lionel, son of an overbearing mother, falls in love. Whilst trying to destroy their relationship, she is bitten by a rare Sematran rat monkey brought over from Skull Island. She comes back from the dead and starts to infect the local community. It's down to Lionel to battle the undead and save the day. Braindead.
On this picturesque block, in this manicured home, something evil, something terrifying, something horrifying is haunting Lionel. His mother.
I thought I told you to spray this house. The place is infested with vermin.
Although she was a little strict.
Look at this dust. It's an inch thick.
He never wished her any harm.
You look after me.
Until...
Your mother's dead, Lionel.
Now, whatever Mom's got...
Who's your mother?
...has caught on with the neighbors. You can pray. You can plead. You can beg for mercy.
Help! Someone! Please!
But nothing you can do will stop it.
The sound is on them!
Because how do you kill something that's already dead? Trimark Pictures presents a modern masterpiece of horror.
Your mother ate my dog!
Dead Alive.
Party's over.
Okay, first of all, it's probably worth pointing out that in some territories this is still known as Dead Alive, which is not such a great title. Also, in between Braindead and Bad Taste, Peter Jackson made Meet the Feebles. Have you seen that?
Haven't seen Meet the Feebles.
Yeah, so I can't vouch for it. I really want to see.
It's all animatronics.
Well, not well. It's puppets, isn't it?
It's all puppets.
Yeah. So but that was another film that I remember hearing good things about when I was a kid. So I'd like to see, because that's the connective tissue between a very, very bad film and a very, very, very good film. So, but yeah, Braindead. I mean, what did you reckon of Braindead?
Braindead for me is the Citizen Kane of gore films.
Yeah.
There's nothing comparable to what Jackson has done in Braindead.
Yeah, Braindead is a fantastic film. I thought it when I saw it in '92. Did it come out in '92? I think.
No, '92.
Yeah, and I felt it even more so now. A fantastically entertaining, fantastically well made. I mean, this is a classic and clearly an early work from a director who was going places. And Bad Taste is neither of those things. So I'll get that out of the way. But this Braindead is a fucking fantastic film.
It is, and why it works so well. It does because this is his sequel to Bad Taste, and I said it before, and I will say it again. He does all the right things. It's cruder, it's gorier, it's more perverse. What works so well, he took all the things that work so well, and then laid it out with really good actors. Really good character actors. The mother in this film is superb.
Yeah, she's good. Yeah.
There's so much physical comedy. I mean, it's kind of like it rattles along, and is just peppered with so many good gags.
Peter Jackson should be making comedies.
That's why hasn't he done a full-blown comedy?
I don't know. He should be making comedies. He is a comedy filmmaker.
What I think works so well is that the 1950s pureness smashed with morbid gore.
Considering, but I mean, this has a really good plot. It has the actors are really good, but something that I really love about it is that everything's so cartoonish. His sensibilities are so cartoonish. I reckon you could probably watch. Actually, I'm convinced you could watch the whole film from beginning to end without sound, without dialogue. There's hardly any dialogue in it anyway, but everything's so cartoonish. The performances are so broad. There's moments when it feels like a kid's play or something like that, and there's shots where when they're at the zoo and they're making googly eyes at each other, and then there's even like sort of vaudeville piano music, and it's just like, this looks like something that could have been made decades ago with no.
The thing is that the sound is so integral to it. There's a sequence which is playing. He's trying to mask the fact that he's hiding from Paquita what's going on with the zombies.
Yeah.
And there's the Archers music being played and being synced up with dialogue from what's going on in the Archers.
That's right. Yeah. Right.
With what's going on with what's going on with the physicality, which is absolutely brilliant. What I loved is that there was hints of this in Bad Taste with the humanity to the zombies, and what he does now is absolutely, you really care about these zombies, and they've actually got, their relationships one another is done so well. There's a dinner sequence where he's having to feed them all. He's nurturing these zombies around the dinner table, and then there's two zombies making eyes at each other and flirting with each other, which has never been done. It's like George A. Romero touched upon humanity of zombies, and Peter Jackson absolutely embodies that.
That scene at the dinner table is an absolute classic. That is a classic scene. I mean, there is just awesome slapstick as well of those zombies trying to eat dinner like a civilized family. It is hilarious. That is a classic.
Spooning it in, it's just coming out of it.
And then you see someone reach a spoon and they go straight through the
and then he starts crying.
That is a classic scene, an all-time classic scene. There's just so many actual beautifully crafted gags in it. I did not find that in Bad Taste. There was no joke punchline that I found funny. Whereas, I mean, the final half hour is just relentless jokes. I couldn't believe how funny it was. The kills were amazing.
But it's Bad Taste is like a teenager doing a homemade movie, whereas Braindead is like an adult fully forming this.
You could not have made Braindead without Bad Taste. but I will.
That's why they're so integral to each other. Comparing them is like somebody who has got like a black belt second dan in a martial art, whereas like Bad Taste is somebody doing a yellow belt kata, but doing it with so much effort.
Would you want to watch yellow belts fighting?
Oh, dude! Oh no! Cobra Kai, motherfucker!
This is such a massive step up. There is, like I said, a gigantic chasm between the two films. I mean, you cannot have had one without the other, but
you could have, because now he gets, because with this.
But there's actually a story being told.
With this film, he gets professional actors. With this film, he's not on his lonesome.
But even if he had professional actors in Bad Taste, I still think it wouldn't have amounted to fucking anything, because he's kind of. He gets performers to perform. I mean, there's a character in it. His uncle, I think it is, the seedy uncle.
He's a brilliant character.
But yeah,
he's such an awful, odious, but so entertaining to watch.
He's acting as if he's in a silent film. I mean, he has something that's supposed to be either a pipe or an aspirin inhaler, and the most inopportune just tugging on this, and it's really funny. It's a really funny psycho. There's none of the invention of Braindead in Bad Taste. I really think there's such a big.
This is a film which has inspired scenes. The dinner table is one, and the graveyard sequence is amazing.
That's straight out of a Naked Gun film. That could be in a Naked Gun film as it is. Yeah. The Kung Fu Priest. Yeah. A fantastic.
I kick ass for the Lord.
Yeah, it's a fantastic comedy set piece.
What I also like about this is the multiple head nods to the genre. There's scenes lifted straight out of Carrie, straight out of House by the Cemetery, Evil Dead 2, The Thing.
Yeah, completely. It is a smorgasbord of brilliant ideas, and it's tied to a narrative that actually makes sense. And characters you care about, and I cannot get over. I mean, we talked, when we were talking about Leprechaun way back when, about how the fact that great kills can elevate a mediocre horror film, and they didn't in that case. Even if this was a terrible film, the kills in the final half hour, I just lost track. My girlfriend and I were just watching it, fucking cracking up. There's almost too many. There's too many classics
in that last sequence. There's 300 litres of fake blood used in that final sequence
with the lawnmower. Yeah. There's also, I mean, Peter Jackson has. I mean, this is the second film. So he wrote with Fran Walsh. She co-wrote Meet the Feebles, and she's worked with him throughout. She helped him adapt the. They worked together on the Lord of the Rings and all that stuff. So she's been a constant collaborator, and they take conventional. At the beginning it's like a bargain basement Indiana Jones, and the conventional. The whole convention of the plot being mapped up by a tarot card reader. It's stuff that's been done before, but it's to just give it. None of that care is taken with Bad Taste whatsoever.
I love the fact that they do the whole Skull Island thing, and obviously many years later, Peter Jackson revisited Skull Island with doing his King Kong.
Yeah, of course.
Have you ever seen the King Kong remake?
I was going to mention I watched King Kong for the first time about between 6 months and a year ago, and I was alarmed by how bad I thought it was.
I've never seen it.
I thought that the special effects had dated to the point where I was laughing at it, but also I was finding it funny that he was clearly, like Jack Black and Adrian Brody, are often acting like they're in a cartoon. He has this sensibility of trying to make it almost like a silent film. That didn't work for me in King Kong. I mean, I didn't watch the whole film, but an hour in, I was like, I don't really know what this is. I can't really get on board with this. But
watching Braindead made me think about The Frighteners, and I love The Frighteners.
When was the last time you watched The Frighteners? Because I loved it when it came out.
I watched The Frighteners, when I was way back when I was working in Blockbuster Video. So we're talking about 15 years ago.
That's longer than 15 years ago, isn't it?
Oh, would you say that I am?
No, but that's when we both watched it.
I haven't got a ration book.
That's when we both watched it, and I loved it. And I watched it probably I reckon 15 minutes ago, 15 minutes of it about 3 years ago, and I just thought, whoa, this is really shit.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. That's an unfair thing to say because I watched a small chunk of it, but I was like, this is nowhere near as good as I remember it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be really interested to revisit that.
We have to find something to pair it with, and then we can go back to it, I suppose. But this, and also the thing about Bad Taste being called Bad Taste, there was a slightly irksome bit with the brain falling out of the head. But for a film called Bad Taste, it never really made me go, ooh. But drinking from puke or the brain coming out of the head is beaten into the ground by the bit where pus from an open wound is shooting into people's custard and they're eating it. That was really, really unpleasant.
I love the fact when her ear drops into that custard.
It just starts to show. Yeah.
And the guy from the WII is completely oblivious.
Yeah.
He's just going, oh my love, I've got a good bit of custard for ages.
It is such a knockout comedy.
What George Lucas does really well in the Star Wars films is bring empathy towards creatures, and there are two things in particular that stick out to me. Is that there's a particular zombie that keeps losing body parts, and literally he keeps coming back. He's pulling himself along. He can't be disposed of, right? And you actually end up like, you really kind of, you're rooting for this zombie. He's back. He's back
You're talking about the guy that gets stuck in the toilet. I mean, that whole chase.
His whole from being like, from being like a really obtuse kind of punk in that graveyard, and he keeps coming back throughout the last third of that film is genius. And I also love the fact that there's half a head that keeps
that's right. They keep showing that half a head in the scrum at the end. Yeah. It's just this half a head. Like, I don't know whether you're supposed to even know whether that's still alive. It's like there's all this chaos is going on. They're like, we've got to remember where the half
a head is. And finally, when he's put in the blender, he just looks at camera like, I'm fucking done for now.
It's such a sensational comedy. I mean, really is. I mean, there's also the demonic baby.
Yeah.
There's a bit where he's in a park. Lionel's in a park and he's trying to capture this demonic child, and he has to start basically battering it. And the mother.
That whole sequence is so well done because it contrasts how he's looking at in the pram to his baby, and he's mimicking how first time mothers are looking into their pram.
And he keeps continuously beating this child,
much to the disgust of everybody.
But then it just cuts to a drunk, and he's like, "Oh no!" Beat the child. and this is what I'm talking about. That's a genuinely bad taste joke.
Yeah. There's also an example of that earlier on, where when the mother gets bitten, everyone is in absolute shock in the zoo, and a guy grabs his camera and goes, glints in his eye and snaps it. I mean, we could probably just do an entire episode about talking about all of the gags in this film. There's another part which really tickled me, where Lionel is trying to get away from the zombies, and he's moonwalking in blood.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And his little legs are going like that. He's not getting any traction at all or moving.
I just.
Oh, that's it. No, that's it. He's moonwalking in the blood, and then what he ends up doing is stepping on mutilated heads.
That's right, to get that away.
And then the final bit is that he steps on that guy with the half torso. And he goes,
and just I love the fact that the guy who gets caught, the guy with the torso, he gets caught on the upended lawnmower.
Yeah.
And he's just spinning. And then Lionel realises if you grab him, then he'll just get mushed down as soon as you stop him from spinning. It's just a weirdly nice, satisfying moment. But, I mean, it is an excellent film, completely engaging, completely hilarious. I mean, I don't think this is held in enough regard, whereas I think Bad Taste is... Well, no, that's not held in any regard. Forget about that.
I've not heard Braindead mentioned in magazines when talking about seminal horror articles. I don't hear Braindead referenced.
Me neither, and it's up there. I mean,
it's a real pity because
I thought it was a fucking knockout of a film. Just as a piece of entertainment, it was sensational. And I don't want to make this comparison because it's a film that I revere as much as anyone else, and I haven't seen in a very long time. But just on the weight of pure successful gags. When I finished it last night, I was just like, for one of my favourite films as a child, a film that I'm kind of regretting speaking about because I don't want to sort of cast shade on it. But I was just like that in terms in terms of pure laughs and pure invention. Last night I was just like, that blows Evil Dead 2 out of the water. Evil Dead 2 is a better film in many, many other ways, but I couldn't believe how many fun... And the kills. Do you remember the kill where...
It's really interesting you mention Evil Dead 2.
Why?
But because when watching Braindead, it's like it and I love Evil Dead.
I love Evil Dead too.
I love
Seriously,
Evil Dead
do. Yeah.
It's so funny, but you've got like. It's like Evil Dead 2 jacked up on steroids.
It's like Evil Dead 2 has this just goes completely all out. Whereas there are
you haven't got an Ash. And Evil Dead 2 works so well because of Bruce Campbell. You haven't got a Bruce Campbell in Braindead, but what you have got is just. I mean, I've said it before. I said it again. This is for me. It's the Citizen Kane of gore films.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I wasn't even. I mean, for a film I saw once when it came out and loved. I wasn't prepared for how impressed I would be by it. Just as a film, as a load of hilarious jokes, as a load of gore. I mean, it delivers on every possible front.
It was wonderful to revisit again.
Yeah. I mean, it's a sensational film. I mean, if you haven't seen it, for fucking God's sake, I can't recommend it. It's like there's Python-esque elements to it. Yeah. There's things like the Kung Fu Priest. I was like, that is like a scene from a Naked Gun film. It's like if you put the greatest comedies you can think of. There's elements of it. It's just a smorgasbord of fucking absolute brilliance. I loved it so much.
But then there's actually some quite there's that whole thing about which is actually quite a serious undertone. Is obviously this whole kind of the mother dynamic, this whole overbearing, controlling mother thing, and then it's like she actually killed his father, and that's actually towards the very end. It's like, it kind of, are they ever going to wrap that up at the end? And they do, and it's actually quite a fucking harsh thing, is that, and that's what Jackson, I think, that Jackson is so good at doing, is this is all very, this is all hugely stylised, over the top, you do really care, you care about the character, you care about the relationship with Paquita and him, and, actually it's quite a dark thing. The mother she fucking killed his dad. And that's why, he's this reclusive kind of Norman Bates-esque-ish. Well, he could have been Norman Bates' character, but he's far too bloody nice. Like
all of these things that are so praiseworthy, can you relate them to anything that's good about Bad Taste in terms of relating to the characters?
Because they're completely different beasts. This he is at his most basic in Bad Taste. But it's so important to be viewing that alongside this, because this is how far he has come from, being a director and a writer and a creator of special effects, to be able to be doing that on when you give him everything at his disposal, he can create one of the best gore films of all time.
Yeah.
And they are important, and I'd never discard one. I mean, you compare them like for like. This is going to win hands down. You get everything, cinema, acting, kills, cinematography, everything is going to be superseded in this film. But that's where he came from.
I appreciate that. I don't think Bad Taste.
I love the humanity. And I can say humanity. I just love the fact is that you've got all this, but they're not Lionel, Paquita, the mother. They're such they're great little performances in this splatterfuck of a film.
Yeah. Well,
and I'd love more people to see that. People have forgotten about this film or never heard about this film. They listening to this podcast. Please go and find it. Go and find this film.
If it isn't called Braindead, it's called Dead Alive.
It's not on Netflix, which is.
There was. I mean, the Blu-ray that I have is it's fairly recent, I think. So it was re-released.
These days, you can't rely on people going to a video store or a Blockbuster to find this on the shelf.
No, it's true.
And it's not on Netflix, and it's not being.
I don't even know.
It's going to be hidden on iTunes somewhere.
I don't even know if it's on iTunes. I don't think I looked, but because I didn't have to.
How many people even know? I mean, this is the thing. Peter Jackson is now one of the hottest directors in Hollywood. But how many people actually know that he did? This was his beginnings. Is it something that's been kind of?
I mean, I'm biased because I don't really respond to Tolkien. I'm not really into The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. So I'm biased. But this, to me, is so far and away his best film. This is far more important than Lord of the Rings trilogy. Well, no, I'm sure we're going to get absolutely. We are going to get. No. I tell you what, we're probably going to be paraded, tarred and feathered. Because I think saying this, but for me, this is a far more important, entertaining film than the Lord of the Rings trilogy. But I completely agree with that, without a shadow of doubt. But like I said, I'm biased that those aren't films for me. But I just think, in terms of how inventive it is, how well crafted it is, I can't really fault anything about this. It's a. I don't want to use the word masterpiece, but
it's a meister.
It is a meister, isn't it?
In its genre, which is one of the hardest genres to nail, is the horror genre, and this kills it.
So many films try to have a finale that amps things up to levels that you can't comprehend. And I was in genuinely, the word hysterics is supposed to imply hysteria. I was in fucking hysterics
because you can't. Your brain. The thing is, your brain can't actually catch up with what's going on
There's
screen.
so much.
There's so much going on.
Exactly. And I'll reference Naked Gun again. Yeah. In that final bloodbath of a half an hour, there are so many funny kills. There's one kill that I remember because it almost, I don't think it happened in the background, but it happened so quickly that you weren't even supposed to notice it. Where someone punches a woman in the neck and it goes straight through her neck and her head just comes. I was just like, this is it is brilliant.
Oh, there's a nice touch when a woman's being impaled in a light bulb, but that keeps lighting up. She keeps lighting up like a disco ball.
It is so reminiscent of Evil Dead when you remember those kills like that.
He's massively, Jackson is massively influenced by Evil Dead.
I'm sure he is, yeah, of course.
I wouldn't say it's a template for that, but it's kind of like, locking the zombies in a lower level. I mean, I wish Jackson would do more of this.
I wish he'd just do this.
Those days, I think, are so beyond him. But I mean, I would love, because he could probably commandeer whatever he wanted from a studio. I would love for him to revisit a film where he could flex his comedy, gore, his creative muscles in that way.
That's the one thing that I think is the most important, is that this is so brazenly a brilliant comedy that I don't know why somebody who's that gifted at comedy, bearing in mind that well-directed comedies are so hard to come by.
There's no humour in the Rings films that I can think. There's not. I've seen the Rings films, and I will say I admire those Rings films in terms of what they do.
Those Rings films, sorry. That's just sorry, that just sounded funny. No, come on.
The Lord of the Rings trilogy.
So, yeah,
I'm very respectful of the trilogy.
Okay, sorry, it just sounded funny.
No, but they're great in what they do.
But he's not playing to his strengths.
But he's not playing what he does, and what obviously he must really his natural aptitude is doing fucking great. Black humour, physical comedy.
The best thing that could happen to us as fans of this film is for Peter Jackson to make a string of absolute fucking turkeys and just be cast out of Hollywood, go back to New Zealand and then make Braindead 2. It's a terrible thing to wish for, but I mean, it seems like he's wasting such a gift, because if films like this don't come along very often.
But surely it should be a trilogy, right? Because you got Braindead, you got Bad Taste.
No. I mean, Braindead number one.
You got
Braindead 2. Braindead 3.
They should always. These things always should be a trifecta, right?
Bad Taste.
Derek was in. Did you notice the cameo of Derek in?
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, of course, because he's played by Peter Jackson, obviously, isn't he? Yeah, I saw him. He was like a mad scientist or something.
He's an assistant in the funeral.
In the funeral. But why did I say mad scientist? It's fucking completely random. But
surely there's a third film that this is pretty drunk ramblings.
And a second film. I mean, but Bad Taste makes a nice.
Third. These things come in. These come in trees.
Bad Taste would make a nice DVD extra on the box set of the 3 Braindeads. That's what I reckon. But I mean, if we're going to actually have to sit here and say which one's the best film, which one is it?
Well, I mean, we both know which we prefer out of the two. Just one of us.
Okay, objectively, I mean, in every department, which it's a better film. There's more jokes in it. It's better made.
Yeah, but you have to. Without Bad Taste, you would never have Braindead.
So, do you think the Bad Taste is the winner?
No, Braindead.
Okay, so Braindead is the winner.
Braindead is the winner.
Okay, so that's that. Good.
Let's go and have a game of kabaddi too.
Okay, well, thank you very much for listening to this. I hope it has, at the very least, encouraged you to seek out Braindead, not and all Braindead, Bad Taste, because that would be a mistake in my view. But
definitely watch both of these films. You can't have one without the other.
If you watch Bad Taste and just think, I can't watch this, then go straight to Braindead, because that's where the money is.
Chubless.
Okay. Thank you very much for listening. We're on Twitter, CFFO, Cult Film Face Off, cultfilmfaceoff@gmail.com. If you want to send us any suggestions or take the piss out of us or whatever. We're also on Facebook and other places. Like we're around. We're on iTunes. Subscribe on iTunes. That's what I keep forgetting to say. Leave us a review if you enjoy the programme. That would really benefit us. So, we'll see you next time. Thanks very much for listening. See you later. Ta-da!
Cult Film Face-Off.
Rich and creamy, just the way I like it.